afternoon from the KUOW newsroom. This is Seattle Now. I'm Paige Browning with the roundup of today's top stories. It's Wednesday, June 4th. Starting with the big citizenship case Washington's involved in. Washington's challenge to President Trump on birthright citizenship is the first to make its way to a federal appeals court. Amy Radel explains.
In January, a federal judge in Seattle called Trump's order limiting birthright citizenship blatantly unconstitutional and put it on hold nationwide. Wednesday, a three-judge panel with the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals considered the case. Solicitor General Noah Purcell said denying citizenship to children whose parents are in the U.S. temporarily or unlawfully will cause chaos for states.
There's no way for them to do that without us having to rework our systems to check whether,
Again, we don't know because the government was never given a chance to implement any of this.
That was Justice Patrick Bumatai responding. The U.S. Supreme Court is expected to issue a decision by the end of this month on whether the injunction should apply nationwide or just in states that sued. Amy Radel, KUOW News.
Federal authorities have linked a Kent man with the bombing of a California fertility clinic last month. The FBI is accusing Daniel Park of mailing hundreds of pounds of chemicals to the man suspected of bombing a Palm Springs clinic. The suspected bomber, Guy Bartkus, died in the explosion, which also gutted the facility. Authorities arrested Daniel Park last night. Akil Davis is assistant director of the FBI's Los Angeles office.
In Seattle, Park was in possession of an explosive recipe that was similar to the Oklahoma City bombing. We believe that Park had knowledge of how to create an amphibomb, ammonium nitrate fuel oil bomb.
That audio's from PBS. The two men allegedly met in online chat forums that spread fringe ideas about opposing childbirth and population growth. There are flood alerts, tornado sirens, fire evacuations, and today, Washington U.S. Senator Maria Cantwell put out her own kind of warning. She said President Trump's cuts to the National Weather Service will put rural communities in Washington state at risk during the upcoming fire season. Joshua McNichols has more.
In a press conference, Senator Cantwell held up a map. It showed the risk for fires in Washington state this July. Nearly the whole state was covered in red.
If you have very high wind events, the challenges that we are facing in a fire season are almost, there's almost an inability to deal with them. So we want to know when those conditions are going to exist because lives are at stake.
The National Weather Service has laid off around 600 employees this year. Recently, there was a public backlash related to hurricane predictions. After that, a union official told NPR the agency plans to refill about 20% of those positions. Joshua McNichols, KUOW News.
Two notes in the culture section today. SIFF, the Seattle International Film Festival, is laying off 9 employees. That's about a 20% hit to SIFF's administrative staff. There are also plans to reduce the number of shifts by hourly staff. SIFF just wrapped up its annual film festival last month and has been looking for ways to make cuts. In food news, Seattle's highest-profile restaurant has named a new head chef. Canlis has hired James Huffman, and he's one of their own. Huffman's been the Canlis executive sous chef for 9 years. He'll be the first born and bred Seattleite to fill the role at Canlis. Former executive chefs were recruited from elsewhere. Huffman said he plans to prioritize local farms and producers. Police who use force are now under new scrutiny. The state of Washington has begun to track when and how state and local police use it. The info's available to the public, launched this week by the Washington State Data Exchange for Public Safety. KNKX reporter Mitch Borden has more.
Beginning in September, around 300 law enforcement agencies will have to report when officers use force, like firing a gun or striking an individual, to the state's new database. This information will be compiled, analyzed, and made public online. Kelly Richburg is with the Washington State Office of the Attorney General, which was tasked with setting up the database. She says with this data, police departments can adjust how officers are approaching situations, like when they respond to a mental health crisis.
They may see we have higher rates of force in these particular types of calls. Do we need to do anything to change our policies or our training or other practices.
Before this program, Richburg says there hasn't been a standardized way for departments to track when officers used force or compare their data with other agencies. Washington State University is now collecting information and managing the database. I'm Mitch Borden, reporting.
We'll have much more on this new database on tomorrow morning's episode of Seattle Now. In a somber event today, mourners, faith leaders, and members of the public gathered at Mount Olivet Cemetery in Renton to hear the names of 406 King County residents honored in an indigent remains ceremony.
Rainey Griffin, Paul Grissom, Deanna Grooms.
Some of the people buried today experienced homelessness, were estranged from their families, or didn't have any living family members able to claim their remains. James Sosick Jr. is the medical legal death investigator for King County. He says the ceremony gives those lives a chance to be celebrated.
People want to be respected in life. I think we should all follow through, respect them in death as well. Everybody's taken care of. Everybody's somebody.
A list of those buried today is available at kingcounty.gov. Finally today, one elected official says he's staying put despite calls for him to quit. King County Assessor John Wilson is accused of harassment and stalking, but says he will not resign. Wilson's former domestic partner filed a restraining order against him last month, and he denies the allegations she makes. King County Council members Claudia Balducci and Gurmai Zahalai called for him to step down, and both happen to be running against Wilson for King County executive. So he says the resignation call is politically motivated and has filed a complaint against them, saying they're misusing their power. Next time on Seattle Now, we'll learn more about the new public database that tracks use of force incidents by police.
This brings data to bear so that we can substantiate it. If we have a problem, let's do something about it. And let's also analyze if it worked.
Hear more Thursday morning. And that's all for today from the KUOW Newsroom in Seattle. Our producer is Andy Hurst, and I'm Paige Browning. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. See you tomorrow.